What's up, bros? Welcome to the Men of Mind podcast. I'm Omar Bravo, and this is the podcast all about badass knack bros and their journeys through life. From the bad beats and the lessons learned to the mountaintop successes and advice they'd give their younger selves, this is your chance to get to know these bros better. In this episode, I talk with Shawn Herrera, Eta Chapter founding father number 2 from Santa Clara University. Órale.
All right, cool. What's up? So what's up? What are we going to talk about?
Oh man, I want to. Well, so I was thinking about it, and it's been at least I think 18 years since I saw you at
that's a long time.
At the 10 year.
That
was a long time ago, bro. And so, yeah. Dude, I say we started at the beginning, man. What's happening? Are you let's see. Are you married with kids? Are you single and ready to mingle? What's happening there? It's been 18 years. You could have had a whole litter of kids, and I wouldn't even.
No kids, man, no kids. I'm still with my lady, but no kids.
Okay.
We're enjoying the adult life.
Sure. So that was a strategic decision that you made a long time ago, huh?
Yeah. We opened up the door for a very short time just to see if fate was going to play it in our life.
Mm-hmm.
Short time, you know what I mean? We pulled the goalie out. We pulled the goalie out for just a minute and then said, "Nope, great, we're done."
Yeah.
Just to say that, hey, we never were completely unwilling to try.
Sure.
And then, it's been cool though, man. Because I'm not saving for schools and stuff, I get to put money. I have a foundation that I get to give scholarships out, and I do sponsor a lot of kids, and do other things. So, it was nice. I think if I had my own kids, everything would be really focused on saving and making sure that they were going to be taken care of. Yep. And now I don't have to do that. You know what I mean? At the end, my wealth will just go to my foundation, and it'll go to, many people.
Sure.
So it doesn't have to go to. I have no one to leave it to.
Right.
So that's cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. That's good for you. So
and then since then I moved out of San Jose and moved out to Hollister, San Benito County South. So I'm just outside Santa Clara County. It's cool. It's I'm about maybe 15 minutes to Hollister and 15 minutes to Gilroy. So I'm right in between.
Okay. So is that, how long ago did you move out there?
I'm in my 4th year.
Okay, so not that long ago. And I mean, it's so easy to work remote now, so you can basically get everything done all the time.
It was before all this COVID shit, and then but I moved out here. I was just kind of like, I'll come into the office a couple times a week. It was nice, I've been about a nice estate out here.
Yeah.
So that left San Jose, I was like, I'm good, and then it was a good exchange. The rate as far as the exchange.
Okay.
Getting what I got out of here compared to what was in San Jose.
Yeah, for sure.
I had a nice pad in San Jose. It was nice in a nice neighborhood and stuff. But here now I have acreage, and my neighbors are a bit apart, and I get to make a lot of noise. And
do you make a lot of noise?
Huh?
Do you make a lot of noise?
All the noise that I want, and then I had enough room to I can build a building for my cars, and a house is big enough so I can have different rooms for different things that I do. Different, like, one room for this type of audio, and another room for this type of audio, and have a theater and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
So moving out of San Jose, you were born and raised San Jose kid?
Yeah.
On where at in San Jose? And when I say where at, I mean, just remember, I was thinking about this, when I asked this question, my childhood home was literally in between 2 cornfields in rural Utah. So, so when you tell me it's like, oh no, it's just a regular neighborhood, it's like, that means different things to different people.
It was East San Jose. I went to James Lick, so East San Jose.
Okay.
It was just on the east where I grew up, and then my parents grew up in that area too. They went to my high school, and then my grandparents were for most of their lives were in that area too.
Wow. So you're like third generation, fourth generation?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Or were they,
I,
or were they there when California
yeah.
used to be Mexico?
Yeah. Californians.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
I have
right.
one, my grandmother, her family immigrated from Michoacan.
Okay.
Yeah. My grandmother. Um, no, my great grand no, yeah, no, yeah, my grandmother. They would go back and forth. They were here. I'm trying to figure out how this went. Um, they were here. They had a home, they had property in Mexico, so they would go there, come back. So when they came back through the immigration channel, it was really easy. Their
Yeah.
documentation was really easy. You know, they filled it out and they said, "Well, you own land there," because my great grandmother owned some land here. They had some family areas, not a lot, but they so it was really easy for them to get, when they came over for citizenship.
So your family's like San Jose, like 100 years or something.
Yeah,
That's wild. That's super,
yeah,
super crazy.
yeah.
Cool.
The sad part of it is that I have an uncle who's still in San Jose
Uh-huh.
from that grandmother, but he's only in San Jose because she gave him the house.
Okay.
Otherwise, the entire family left
Like far away or just out of San Jose?
out of San Jose,
Uh,
Modesto,
oh, okay.
Texas, Arizona. They just
Oh, all right.
gentrification set in. I was the only one that was intact, so I was the only one that was able to afford to stay.
I gotcha. I
Everybody
gotcha.
else, everybody else left.
And do you come from a big family or how many siblings?
No, no. I had a brother, and then I have a sister. She's in
Okay.
Arizona. She left too.
Okay. Yeah. So for real.
Yeah,
Every,
so
every,
it was a trip, but all sides, all the family, a lot of the generations, I'm like, when I was there, which is why I left too. I'm like, I have no cousins or family here.
yeah.
It was like, this is weird. I'm like, I have nobody here. It was like, where did it all go? I mean, when we were kids, it was like everybody was there, but little by
Yeah.
little, it just got to be a point where everybody was like, yeah, I can't. It's too expensive to live there. I can't live
Yeah.
there anymore.
Yeah, it's a trip. I think my family went through not for the same reasons, but I'm the youngest of nine, and then as we grew up, like nobody wanted to live in Utah, so we all went to California and Texas and all over the place.
Yeah.
But as we got older, everybody kind of started coming back, and so there's a whole bunch of us that have kind of circled in and out. But
Yeah.
there's 5 or 6 of us that are real close right here, and everybody. But we didn't leave because of the tech boom and the prices and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly, we were looking for trouble. That's why I went
Yeah.
to California.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
all no, but it's been good though. I mean, you know what I mean? Life's been good.
Yeah. So I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, bro, and you got your hands in all kinds of stuff, and
Yeah.
you've
I
kept
mean,
yourself real busy.
I try to keep busy. My days are very, very busy. And just in the stuff that I do, it was like scheduling that like after this, then I'll go to Watsonville, which is about 45 minutes away, deal with some renting stuff, collect some rents, come back, and then I got an evening thing going on tonight. And earlier I was at the Rotary doing a big speech at Rotary Club, and just
Nice.
in business throughout the day. Reason why I was a little bit late. I was talking to Armando Delgado. He's my CTO, and
Okay.
our one of our bros from Santa Clara, right?
Right,
And
right, right.
he's the company CTO, and I was just going through some stuff. I was like, hey, I gotta speaking of Omar, I gotta get off. Hold on. He's like, okay, call me back after.
Here's
But
a question for you.
uh,
The So a lot of people see the entrepreneurship as very romantic, right? Because they watch Shark Tank and it's like, oh yeah, I want to become a billionaire tomorrow.
yeah,
But I've worked with so many entrepreneurs, and from my anecdote is that, man, they work harder than anybody.
yeah. I mean, the time that you have to put into building your business is tremendous. I mean, it's a smart thing to do. I always encourage people to do it. Anybody who ever asks, most a lot of people don't. They're just like, oh, mystified, right? And then there are some who are like I'm mentoring a couple guys right now who are like, how'd you fucking do it, dude? What'd you do? What'd you do? I'm like, oh, it's really easy. You know, here, I read this book. And then from here, I took the practice and here's what I do. And they're like, but really, you know, I mean, what, you know, did you have family? And they know they're just blue collar workers. They're like, well, you know, where'd you get money? I'm like, from me, you know, and then, and they like, so like, I'm like, I just did it. Cause I mean, like, I'm an example of anybody can do this, you know, anybody, as long as you want to do it. If you don't, then, you know, no, that's next to impossible if you don't. Right. But but if you want to do it, it's, you know, it's just a matter of time and just, you know, staying focused. And you know, and so like a couple of these new guys are like, they're trying to get in their head, understanding money, understanding how the system works, how the system doesn't work, and what you need to do if you ever want to build wealth. You know.
Yeah. So one of the things I feel like maybe you kind of glossed over, and that a lot of people appreciate that not hearing that part is, oh, you have to work your ass off. Like you have to absolutely positively. It's like you got to be the hardest worker in the room, right? Nobody in the company you can't expect anybody in the company to work harder than you. So
no, yeah, you do it all.
Yeah.
And you play all positions, including janitor.
Yep, absolutely. You got to fix the printer. You got to take the trash out. Your accounts payable, accounts receivable.
Everything. In the beginning, and then after a while, it obviously changes. But in the beginning, you're everything.
Well, and from just hearing what you were saying as far as your schedule goes, it's like you're still got to go. You're going to go pick up rents, right?
Yeah.
It's like you still got to be willing to get your hands dirty and like
if you want to. I mean, I like rents, you know, and I enjoy that part.
Shaking people down.
No. Enjoying and like seeing my clients, as I call them.
Sure.
You know, a term that JC and I use a lot. There are clients. These are our they supply. These are the people who buy from me, right? And so and you treat them with respect. You know, so when I go and see them, and a lot of them, you know, are they're just working families.
Sure.
You know, the renters, right? And you know, the working families, they work hard, but you build a bond with them. I mean, if I go if it's a Saturday afternoon and I'm picking up rents, you know, usually the guys are like, oh, you want a beer? You don't want to hang out with us? Oh, we're cooking. You know, come in. If I come around dinner time, or are you hungry? Come in. We're having dinner. Why don't you have to eat with us? It's to that level. You know, they're not just like, oh, here, get out of here. They're just like, hey, what's going on? And it's a really cool thing to be able to do that.
Yeah, I definitely see that as one of the fruits of being a good entrepreneur, right? I mean, because you get to call the shots, you get to figure out, hey, am I going to play hardball all the time, or am I going to be compassionate? And I think that's one of the appealing parts of being an entrepreneur, and at the same time, also one of the tough parts about being an entrepreneur, because it's like, hey, it's not show friends, it's show business, right?
Yeah, where do you draw the line? You know, it's a tough place, and the line gets to move as your success grows. Sure. In the beginning, you got to be a little more, because you have to make sure. And
you've
now,
got your own people.
A lot of ways I feel very lenient with not only employees, with my renters, things that I do, because I'm not worried about money anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not
absolutely.
You know, the topic of money comes up to talk about money, not talk about I need money. Mm-hmm. It's to talk about the subject itself. It's a really interesting thing where other people who are in my position, when we talk about money, we talk about subjects of money, taxes, growth, strategies, what we're doing, you know, things like that, as opposed to the money conversation of how do I get it, or look what I have. Mm-hmm. Right? You know, there's different stages of money that I think everybody goes through when you're starting from zero. It's the first one is, finally I have some, and then, oh, look what I have. You want to show it off a little bit, and then that you quickly realize, oh, I don't want to show anybody what I have. Mm-hmm. Right? I want,
because everybody shows up with their hand out.
Yes, that, and then you start realizing what that costs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to the next, and the other as stages keep going on, and then eventually you get to speak to money with other affluent entrepreneurs, and then it's a whole different subject where when the money comes up and how it spins outside your hands, it's a lot of here's a cause that we need to assist, and we just do. There's not that should I or shouldn't I? It's just you just do.
Absolutely. Again, another one of the fruits of all that hard work, right? It's like so many people, I think, look at entrepreneurship from a very short-sighted perspective in that, well, I want to be the own boss. It's like, why? Well, I want to be able to leave at 2:00, or I want to be able to set my own schedule, or I want to, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, wow. Yeah, you definitely,
that's your own schedule. How about from like 6 to like 10 at night?
Yeah.
How about that schedule?
Exactly. But people don't see that. They're like, oh no, I'm just going to golf all the time. It's like, oh, you want to golf all the time? Go into sales. Those guys golf all the time. Which
is in a way in a business within a business.
Sure.
But it is a lot of work because, a lot of times, like when people, like as a salesperson myself, we go and do things like that, right? But it's work because you're usually with clients that you don't really like.
Oh, so I did sales for a long time, and I in Florida of all places, and so I was a professional golfer and deep sea fisherman host, right? I just took
host.
Yeah, I was hosting. I was always hosting. And so it's like, hey, we're going deep sea fishing. We're going. And at first it's, oh man, this is so cool. But after a while, it's like, I'm not hanging with my number one homies. Like I'm hanging with these dudes that I have to hang with. And so are we doing fun things, and are they pretty cool? Yeah. But if I had to pick my top 5, none of these guys would make it.
Would be here.
Yeah. So that's a whole different, when you talk about, or when people look at, oh, what a great life of sales. It's like, man, I got so tired of eating at restaurants. I got so tired of, it's like, hey, it's cool to have an expense account, but like everything, it gets old after a while.
Drops off after a while.
Yeah. Where the meaning comes in is where we got to focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay focused on making sure that there's meaning in the work as opposed to just chasing the numbers and counting the beans?
I never really chased the numbers. I never have. I took a very different approach. It was a kind of a holistic approach. It was just like, look, I have customers. We have to do what we have to do. But it was always whatever comes in, it's fine. I'm not going to push. I don't push customers. They buy what they buy. And if they don't buy, they don't buy. But I was always making sure that they, the approach was, you don't really need that. Here's what you do need, or just take your time. It was a slower growing process, but it was. I sleep well at night.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really well, my customers really love us. And then obviously I only deal with a handful of friends as far as now, the sales team deals with their people, but I always instill that kind of mentality. We don't push sales. We're not, we run, I structure the company so we're not worried about, constantly like, God, here, get your numbers up. Or we don't get checks. It was always an approach that, look, it was very much like a general contractor would approach a project or a way he does his business. It was it's always we have enough so that whatever we do supplies us. If we do more than that, it's gravy. You keep a small team, and it's a different approach. It was very different than my competitors and how they went to business. But it was nice because I didn't have to put too much pressure on anyone, to allow them to do what they need to do and do it on a focused level and not and do it right. Because they weren't, oh shit, I can just do it. It was like, oh, we'll get it done. It was, I don't know, it's probably not a good way of explaining it all, but
no,
it's a very different approach. I could have been more profitable if I would have went a different way by the book,
mm-hmm.
but I didn't like ever being in that position to be worked like that. And I didn't like the strategy. I always thought it was too impersonal. So I just took a different approach, and if we were successful, we were successful. If not, I said, yeah, the book was right. You're not supposed to do it that way. But I was like, no, I'm going to prove the book wrong.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, you're let's see, what, 30 years on into your entrepreneurial ventures?
I started my first company at 30. My first two companies were designed to be failures.
And so is this Mazda? Is that the first one? Which one was
Mazda
the first
Computing
one?
was no. I had two small companies before that.
Okay.
Just little fun companies, but they were learning things. It was just like, let me just do something. I wanted to see what, as I was still doing tech stuff, working for other people. But it was just things that I wanted to, let me see how I would approach this and kind of making mistakes and just to kind of get my feet wet. And then eventually said, okay, I'm ready to start a real company. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started Mazda Computing.
Okay. All right. And
we're
so
about 18 years into it now.
Yeah. And so Mazda, is that still like your primary?
It is my primary, like, if you will, like company that I run, right? But I make most of my money in real estate and stocks now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Good. And so as a entrepreneur now turned, employer, investor, but I wanted to keep talking a little bit about the employment piece. Like, how many employees do you have? Ballpark.
We between 7 and 9 core, and then we have contract everything else.
Okay, so how many contractors then?
So I have contract manufacturing that they run about 20 people on the lines.
Yeah.
So which is good. And then I contract out other services that I don't take in-house. So right. Support services and stuff like that, because I don't want to take over the overhead. It works out really well. It becomes a management thing, just like a general contractor. General's like, well, how many people in your company? Like 6. It's like, well, you guys do like $100 million a year. It's like, yeah. I mean, I contract out $90 million in projects a year, but he's just the general, right? He's running the show. He's managing. The other plumbers there. Did the foundation get done? And he's managing all the subs. And I like to kind of think of it that way. I've got a core group that I deal with, and then we've got our subs that take care of the rest. And it works out really well.
That requires so much like big picture thinking and management.
Relationships, lots of relationships,
and finding those people who you can trust and who you want to work with over and over and over again. Yeah, that's definitely a long strategy move as opposed to, like you said, the I could have made more profit. Yeah, but you would have had to cut more throats, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the 1993, right? Let's talk about NAC. What the hell were you thinking?
So you know what, man? At Santa Clara, college wasn't fun for me. I didn't enjoy it really at all. High school was great, really, just fucking fantastic. Right?
What was the difference?
Just I think the camaraderie that I was able to have and the connection. University was just when there was a lot going on, there was a lot of work and stuff that had to get done. But the school, being at Santa Clara, didn't like mostly. I think a lot of Latinos at universities, because we're the minority. You don't feel part of the mainstream. You don't feel part of everything that's going on. Your parents aren't, donors to the university. You don't have history there. You just don't feel part of all that. I think hopefully it's changing as the years have gone on. But when I was at Santa Clara, at first I was at UCLA, and then I went to and then I was at Santa Clara. It was just fucking boring. I was like, I'm just gonna get through this. I'm like, I know some people, and that's cool. Some guys, we hung out, and it was fun, right? It was that was cool, but it wasn't like I was really part. I was like, this really sucks. I would hate to have the future generations of Latinos who come this way and this be their experience. Because this was not good at all, And so that's when I started looking around, going like, well, maybe we need to start more of an organization to, so we can have that bond. And I thought of different things to start to get going. And then I ran it by Alberto Cruz. And I said, hey, Berto, listen, we should do something. He's just like, yeah, well, like a fraternity thing. And I'm like, something, I don't know. He goes, hey, my girlfriend's sister, she knows this guy. They're like, they have a Latino fraternity, blah, blah, blah. Maybe she, something like that. I was like, I don't know. And we end up meeting up with Javier Soriano, Beef. And he was like, oh, here's what we're all about, and this and that. And we're like, well, shit, maybe we just want to extend this out. And that's how NAC got kind of pushed, where it got brought into Santa Clara, but we had started previously an organization called Hermanos de la Comunidad, and there was a big group of us, right? And we were just doing projects, doing things around the university, getting exposure. Like, hey, we're here. It was cool, but it got to a point where like, well, this can only go so far, and I think we want to be part of something bigger if it's really going to stick here, and that's why. But it was really, I just thought I was like, well, this sucks. It would be nice to have the support group that, like, because we had brothers from other areas, but they just like, I was fortunate enough, 10, 15 minutes, I can be home, right? I can be home, and mom could be, oh, mijo, are you hungry? Or just go open the refrigerator, right? And be like, oh, I'm going to get some, comida here. But they couldn't, right? They were from LA, Oxnard, Modesto. They just couldn't go home, right? That kind of thing, right? They couldn't just like hang out. Oh, I'm going to go home real quick to Watsonville, right? It just wasn't there. I mean, I guess they could, but it was like, it wasn't like I can go home between classes. So I was like, but they need that, right? They needed that so that in the brotherhood, if we can develop it, it would be like, yeah, well, my house is long. Let's go to my house. Saturday, let's go back to my mom. Mom's cooking. Let's go hang out. Let's go get some food over there. Mom's making tortillas, and let's go eat over there, and then we'll come back and study. We needed that because I needed that. That's why I left UCLA. I was like, this sucked. I was like straight mamon, and I was like, I don't want to go home. I'm like, this is no fun at all either. I mean, I knew a lot of people when I got there. I made a lot of friends, but I was like, I want to go home. I want to be able to go home, or I want to be around people like me. And it was tough. And the guys that I did know, they were from like LA, but it wasn't like they were welcoming. Such a big city. They weren't like, oh yeah, come to my place. And it was more like, well, I got my homies, and your new friend from college, and that's cool. But Saturday, I'm taking off. I'll see you on Sunday night. It was like, well, you're not going to invite? And it wasn't part of their DNA, I guess. I don't know, maybe just different culture, right? Different area where they didn't feel that, I guess, right? But it was cool. I made some good friends, right? I still talk to them today. But but when it was at Santa Clara, I still didn't feel that. And I'm like, God, there's got to be something more, right? There's got to be something more. And that's how I was like, oh, I better do something, because this is not good. And then fortunate for me that NAC was already, and Berto, as I was pulling him along to do this, he was just like, oh, okay, whatever, because he was in the city, so he could still go home if he needed to. He was from San Francisco, and so and then after a while, I was like, yeah, this is going to be good. I'm like, yeah, it is going to be good. And the rest of the guys were like, yeah, we need this. So anyways.
No, that's fantastic. That's fascinating. I'm trying to hold back all my questions because I just had like 15 questions pop up as you're going through this. So let's start. So you went to UCLA for your freshman year?
Yeah.
And then sophomore, you transferred to Santa Clara?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what year was it that you actually started like investigating NAC and doing Hermanos and all that?
Probably 91.
Well, so your sophomore year, junior year?
I think my junior year.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
junior year we started Hermanos because we started talking to Candelario Franco, who actually he lives in town now. He moved to Hollis.
Is that right?
We met, Beef introduced us to him. He's like, hey, we're going they had just recently became a chapter, so it was new to them. He was excited, but it was like, you guys, we're just, I don't know, we've been adding too many chapters. We can't get a hold of this. So we're like, all right, well, then we're just going to continue on with Hermanos, and then let us know when you're ready. And we just kept, we kept doing our thing.
Mm-hmm. And then, so I remember the myth of the legend or whatever, but they say, or so I heard it was that was it you that graduated pledging? You walked across the stage with your binder.
I did. Still, right before you got your diploma, I stopped, turned around, held up my binder, and our bros were like, "Yeah," and grabbed it, and I just walked across the stage.
That is fantastic. So through pledgeship, I remember that story being told over and over again to the pledges. It's like, you think you're tired of this or whatever. It's like, bro, he graduated. You're gonna graduate, and you're still gonna be online.
You're gonna be online. Yeah, it got to a point where it was my junior year. Went through my junior year as that. Senior year started, and we got online. When we came back to school, they said, okay, we're going to bring you on. And so we were online or just after that, maybe like I forgot what the date. And then, so by June, we were already online for
forever. God.
Yeah, like 8 months or whatever, or 6 months, 7 months, right? And we were like, damn. And then I still had my cut. And so I was getting into the workforce, and I had to tell them, you guys, we need to wrap this up. Either we're going to do this or not, and because I can't keep my hair like this.
Yeah, because you were going into interviews with a flat top.
The workforce. Yeah. And I was like, you guys, I need to do something, and then I remember Candy going like, I know this is ridiculous. You guys have been, you're going on 10 months now on, pledging. Mm-hmm. I'm like, not cool, you guys. We came to you guys, we came with a lot to offer, and we could have went to any of the other organizations. Yeah. But I brought these guys. We have a great group, and Candy got it. The other guys were like, oh, they're just gonna have to wait their turn. I'm like, guys, we don't play that at Santa Clara, guys. I'm like, we're top students. We didn't get here through EOP programs. These boys are here because they had good grades. These are smart guys, and I can only keep this shit at bay for so long, where they're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right? Why are we still doing this?
Yeah.
So anyways.
That's fantastic. No, that's good. That's good. So I'm sure having been a founding father for going on 30 years, I guess, you've heard this plenty of times, but I want to give you my piece just the same, and just a huge thanks, right? Because and what I found so fascinating about your story is, when you're talking about Santa Clara and the lack of diversity, growing up in between those two cornfields, when I went to Santa Clara, I'd never seen so many brown people in my life outside of my family.
Yeah.
Right. And so going to California and going to Santa Clara, it was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing. And then once I found NAC, it's like, oh, this is the Mecca. Okay. So so I've reached the mountaintop. And so what you and the other bros built, like, oh man, it completely changed my life, because that same sentiment of looking for that community or seeing that lack of community. What I found in my journey is, I'm the youngest of 9, and so my family is super, super tight knit and always has been. And so I knew what brotherhood was. And then when I found NAC, I was like, oh, they get it too. Nobody else gets it, but these guys get it. And then from California, I moved to Texas, and then Florida, and then around the world a couple times, and then eventually ended up coming back to Utah for that exact same thing, because at every stop I was still looking for that community that I found in NAC and that I found in my family, but I couldn't find it anywhere else. And so I ended up coming back here and just basking in it here and now.
Nice.
So that I didn't figure all that out until a couple years ago, but that was definitely a super important piece for sure. Yes. And of just recognition of it's like, man, what do I want? It's like, I want what I had at home with my brothers and my family, and I want what I had in NAC, and I went around the world, and all the best times that I ever had were times where I found, I call them moments of brilliance, where it was like, it felt like, oh man, these guys get down like NACs. These guys get down like my family. So,
that's cool.
So thank you for definitely seeing that need and actually doing something about it. when you were going through that process, how much of the vision or the foresight did you legitimately have to see that, hey, this could actually be bigger and grow?
Like most things I've ever done, it was established to be there a long time. It was not like, oh, this is a fly by night thing. It was like, here's what we're gonna do. Here's how it's gonna go. This this should be here forever, kind of thing. It was no like, this is not gonna work. Putting the pieces together with the foundation and what we did and how we did it, the things that I was trying to put in place of what we were going to do with one, together, making sure that everybody expressed themselves, got to express themselves, and really built that foundation. I knew that foundation was going to be, so critical, because that would then push the generation later. Any weak foundation building is always going to have problems, right? Build a strong foundation that our founding fathers. Anyone call me for anything, they'd be like, yeah, bro. What, anything, whatever, right? We have that deep bond, and I don't, whether we have different political views or any other views of life and stuff like that, there's always that common ground. It's like, still my brother. So, I'm still going to deal with them, even Lucky Lager, right? Even Oscar, I'd be like, fuck, dude. All right, what do you need? Right. But it would still be there. Like, I got to help this guy. Right. We got to stick together. So I knew it wasn't a short term. It was something that was going to be long. And it did go through some variations, and I still hear some, chatter here and there that I'm not real happy with. I had a while when I remember going back and seeing some of the things that changed, and I was really upset. I'm like, what? Well, hold on. No. This is not how we established this. And, what does any of this have to do with our brotherhood? Right. So there was some time, there were some moments in there where I had to kind of step back and express myself. And one time I had to express myself deeply, and I hope it, and I think it hit the organization well. It hurt because I had to express myself like, you're a bunch of fucking pussies. What the hell's going on here? What's this bullshit about, right? And hopefully it rang loud enough so later on in life they were like, yeah, maybe, it didn't, it's never fun to hear it in the beginning, but then you eventually go like, yeah, well, I think he was making some sense, So, anyways, but yeah, and even today, even I had a couple of, I try to hire brothers from Santa Clara. We had one that was like working for us, and he was telling about some shit that was going on, and I tried to give him some counseling as far as what I thought, how he should go about it, and he's of this cancel culture, and we can't do that, and I'm like, you can, you just choose not to. And he's like, well, yeah, but then this and that. I said, well, ignore that. I said, what does any of that have to do with us? And it was tough, right? But I still got to try to put my 2 pennies into it. He'll see it later on, and he'll be like, what a jackass I was. What was I thinking? Why did I let all that out? Why did I let outside things influence our brotherhood? Because it shouldn't have. Right? It shouldn't have. And, he's young, he's weak. Right? It's like, be strong and nothing will hurt you. And I hopefully later on in life, when I talk to him about it, it'll reach, and he'll be like, yeah, I don't have to deal with bullshit because of who I am. Him saying that, right? Mm-hmm. Is as a strong individual. But you're young, right? When they're young, we're all young. We all get scared.
That was definitely one thing that I struggled with, especially as I got older and seeing that, hey, this organization is always going to be led and run by 18 and 19-year-olds. Mm-hmm. Like, and while I was maturing and learning more, and then looking back and seeing those mistakes, it was like, damn, I wish I could go fix it. But at the same time, it's such a wonderful training ground, and it served me so well. It's like, hey, here's some leadership that maybe or maybe not you're ready for, but go ahead. Nobody else is going to do it. You got to do it. Everybody else is hungover, so somebody's got to step up.
or they're graduated and they do not have time for this shit anymore.
Right. How much have you been able to stay involved over the years? Obviously, you've got your own thing going on
at very distant arm length, because we've always had like we have one position. It's a driver position. We gets parts and stuff for us and whatnot, and we usually hire a student, a brother. Mm-hmm. So over the years, I've always kind of got to hear a little bit of what's going on, which is kind of nice. Most of the time I'm like, okay, good for you guys. Just keep doing it, right? I got I'm thinking of other things, right?
Sure.
But it's always been kind of a little bit what's going on. Even just up until the last couple of years, I think is probably the most where I had actually ended up going with a full-time person who was a brother out of the National Hispanic University with that position. He was more of a tech and stuff. Mm-hmm. But before that, all the brothers that come through were always at Santa Clara. They're working part-time. So, hey, what's going on? We're doing this, we're doing that. And, it was always the recruitment part always being tough. Like, how many are there? Oh, there's 5 of us. Like, that's it?
Yeah.
Like, come on, you guys, oh, yeah, we try, but this and that. And I'm like, and I get it, it takes a lot of charisma to go and recruit and build. And oftentimes, a lot of our brothers become like, a lot of them are engineers and stuff, right? Yeah. They're just like, oh, I got to do this. And they're just, they're a little more introverted, they like to party and stuff like that. It's part of our culture. But they're not so like, hey, I'm going to do this. And I'll go walk up to that guy. Hey man, this is what we're doing. Let me tell you a little bit about this. They're like, oh, I don't know about that. We'll just put it out there. Whoever comes. It's like, go grab that dude. He's probably introverted too. Doesn't know. Doesn't scared to go to do that. So you need to go and say, which stuff that I would do, right? I went to all of 21 of hermanos, or more, but 30 something guys and individually spoke to every one of them, personally spoke to every one of them. Hey, I think you would be enjoying this. Some 21 of them signed up to be part of hermanos, and then 13 ended up staying around to become part of NAC.
Where did that, both the entrepreneurial, the leadership, and the long view, like you said, like anytime you started something, it wasn't a fly by night. It was like you had this long play vision. Where did you learn that? Where did that come from?
Man, I don't know. I think I like things organized, so maybe that's part of my brain. Things they got to work. But I think being a math guy, how there's always a solution to every problem, right? What you have to work with. You start, the answer at the back. Just put the middle together, kind of thing. There's this, black and white kind of thing. The whole gray thing was very weird. Even like when I ended up going into business and stuff, it was always like, wow, that's really weird. It's like kind of like in between. I'm like, what the hell is that all about, right? It's this is what it is, right? And I think that's was a big part of it. Where I was just that mentality of this is what we have, this is what needs to get done. Just go do it, and I don't really know. I mean, I don't know if it's innately or I just saw some examples of it and said, okay, well then I'll just do that. I just knew that if I stopped, it would stop. So you don't stop.
Yeah. Let's talk about at a time you were, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were super into bikes, right? Motorcycles. Yeah. Is that still a thing, or was that a phase?
No. I mean, in my 20s, I got back into, as a kid, I rode mini bikes and stuff. And then as I when I got out of school, always in the car. I always loved cars and stuff. And then got back into bikes. And then when I got into my 30s, I started racing. And then I raced most of my 30s. It was cool. I won 3 championships. It was fun. I had a good time.
On what circuit was that you were racing?
So we raced, our home tracks were Button Willow, Laguna Seca, Sears Point, and Thunder Hill.
Golly. And what kind of bike were you riding?
I rode Grand Prix machines. So real race bikes, real purposely. Yeah, we're like the manufacturer will make, 40 of them a year.
Like what size engine does that?
So I raced Grand Prix. Grand Prix are 2 strokes.
Mm-hmm.
So I raced 250cc, 125cc, and then I got into the 600 4-stroke machines after a little while. When the 2-strokes were like, okay, we need to, you guys make too much pollution, and we're gonna run 4 strokes now. We're like, well, we really don't, but fine, whatever. Right. So I started getting into it, and then that's what I ride now for fun.
So you still have bikes then?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I always have, 2 wheels. And then when we're gonna start raining soon. Now that I live close to the Hollister Hills courses, then I get to be, Thursday afternoon I get to go rip around and go out on dirt bike. But yeah, I love it.
And then, so when you're racing, like what was some like top speeds that you were hitting on those straightaways?
On the bikes that I was racing, if you have a good long straightaway, you get to maybe $150, $160.
That's so fast.
Yeah, it's going pretty good. It's going pretty good.
That's insane. And then I saw a picture. You play bass?
I do. I play music.
Is that and you were talking about that you've got different rooms in your house for different audio or whatnot.
Yeah.
Is that organized, or are you just mess around? How's that work?
No. So I broke my life up into a bunch of different 10-year decades. So I kind of knew, right, what I was, things that I was going to plan on doing. My 20s were, looking at company, figuring the shit out, right? I was learning education still, kind of getting into companies and stuff. And then, of course, chasing women, I love to womanize. And so it was a lot of that. And then my 30s, as I was like, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. What's the real thing? And so that's when it was motorcycles. My 40s, at the end of tail end of my 30s, when I was coming off of racing, I was like, what am I going to do next? So, I always wanted to play music. So I went and learned to play music. And then I performed music for the last 8 years. And then COVID hit, and then I turned 50. So that was supposed to be done with my performance years. And I have played many gigs, right, with different bands. And before COVID, we were playing Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday. So it was really performing a lot. And then was supposed to be over, and now getting into my 50s, were set aside for aviation, become a pilot, do some boating, enjoying that. 60s are set aside for RVing. And then my 70s, I don't know. And then I die at 76. And then
all planned out. Exactly.
Planned out. And then, but my 40s kind of are spilling over because the bands that I was in were like, we really would like you to still keep playing with us. So I'm kind of teetering on it, whether I'm going to continue on. It's a lot of work,
Yeah. So it's you don't have just one band, it's a couple bands that you play in?
Yeah, I was playing, before COVID, I was playing in a jump blues band in San Jose, and then down here in South County, I play with just a cover band. So
what kind of music do you play?
Man, we do everything, but we'll start off a set with Elvis Presley. We'll go into Freddie Fender, then we'll go into the Doobie Brothers. We'll play some AC/DC, then jump into Bob Marley, jump into Sublime, and then we're jumping into just a little bit of everything, brother. Alan Bishop, and just all kinds of stuff. I mean, we have a set list of about 300 songs that we just pick from.
And is it mostly, are you playing just bass, or it sounded like you dabbled with more than just the bass?
I mean, I play guitar like most musicians, and play a little bit of piano just because you understand music. Mm-hmm. So I started studying music theory. I was like, well, let me understand. As the engineer in me, I was like, I don't understand what most people are like. Oh, you just do it and you just pick it up. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work for me. I'm like, I'm way too analytical for that. I'm like, let me understand what all this means, and then I'll just put it into practice, right? So, which makes it difficult a lot of times. Where especially if I'm playing with somebody new, somebody like, hey, can you come over and help us out? We're doing this. I start speaking the music language, and most of them don't. And it could be very challenging to them because they feel challenged in their music because they didn't study. It's like you speaking like investing to, just some, laborer. It's like, oh, you think you're all smart. It's like, no, I'm just having a conversation with you about what we're doing here. We're supposed to be doing this job. I need to talk to you about the back end money and stuff. And they just don't get it, right? Great musicians, they just, so it's always a challenge, but to have that in an analytical mind. But if anybody understands the music that's being played in a band, it better be the bass player. We're
Okay.
usually very analytical. That's why I migrated to it, because I started, other instruments and stuff. But it was like, if you really understand music and you can do that, bass is really where that's needed. Everybody else can fake it. Bass can't fake it. You better know what the hell is going on.
Otherwise, you
Because
throw everybody else
we
off.
we have the biggest notes with the foundation of everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Most times, people don't even know the bass player is there until he stops playing, and everybody says, "What the hell just happened?" Like, what happened? Did something go wrong? And we start playing. They're like, "Oh, it's back." It's like, now there's a bass player up there, and they're like, it's of the sound coming out, it could be more than 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize, you're like, yeah, we don't know until it's gone, but we're just the guy back there counting and thinking about what we're doing and doing our thing, right? Playing groove, and it's fun. I really enjoy it.
That's fantastic, bro. That's super cool. Talk to me. I hear you love cars. What's your favorite car?
Oh, I don't know if I have a favorite car. I mean, I have my, I collect cars.
Okay.
And so, I love all cars, man. I love.
What are some of the cars you've had over the years that?
Man, I've had so many different cars over the years. I've had all kinds of lowriders, and most of the years, the Impalas, hard tops, convertibles. I still have Impalas now. I've just seen so many different cars and enjoyed them.
Are you more of a traditionalist, or do you trick them out?
No, I like to customize.
Yeah.
No, I like my thing is just a well-dressed vehicle. I don't get all crazy. When you look at my vehicles, it looks like a stock vehicle, maybe just slightly just classed up a little bit, a little bit lower, or this or that, or on better suspension. But when you get underneath them, you're like, oh, this is all new. This is all modern stuff that's meant to look like the original, really. So when you look at my cars, people are like, yeah, this looks really nice and tidy. It's like, yeah, it's very clean, very tidy. But when you look at the motors, it's like, oh, amazing. This is a new motor. How did you guys do this? You rewired, you did this and you did that to make it look really clean. My own spin on it, but not like totally custom, where it's just like all of a sudden, okay, that's the original car was this, but now it's some other creation.
Do you yourself get your hands dirty and rebuild stuff?
I'm in charge of detailing. I love detailing cars. I have a whole detail center in the back of my building. Mm-hmm. So my job is to keep them clean and drive them. Right.
Yeah.
And then I have people who work on the mechanics. I used to do all that. I just don't have time anymore.
Sure.
I don't really enjoy it as much as I used to.
Yeah.
And so I've got people who build my cars for me, and then people who maintain them. So when I need maintained, I throw it in the trailer and drop it off and pick it up a week later, and it's all ready for me to go. In between, they're like, man, this thing's, you're like, did you even drive it? It's like, yeah. And they're like, it's so clean. It's like, I know, I keep them clean.
I just finished cleaning it. I take
care
of my stuff.
Yeah, I polish them and I do all these different things that, and I have to do that for friends too, who are like, have cars that need help. They'll come over and we go through, we paint, correct, and, ceramic coat and do all these things for them, and so that their cars look good too.
Nice. It almost sounds like you can run another business right there, huh?
Yeah. But that's business, right? Then it takes the fun out of it.
That's right.
I do it right now. People are, let me pay you. I'm like, no, you don't pay me anything. They're like, yeah, we worked on this for 3 days. It's like, yeah, it looks nice, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, there you go. I don't know. Let's have a beer.
Yeah. I mean, you should have brought tacos.
Yeah, it's for the love of the vehicle, not because I don't need the money.
Right.
I need, the car needs love, and and we can have build camaraderie. We'll have the story to tell that we did, 3 14-hour days straight working on that car, that, and it's something that we become, very old, and we're sitting around, we go, oh, remember we did that car, and those are those fun stories.
I dig it, brother. Is there any car builders that you follow that you really like, or?
Nah,
not really.
I mean, I'll watch the normal shows, once in a while, but for the most part, I have my own vision on what it is. And my guys in town here built most of my cars. And then I got 2 more cars right now. We're in the works. One's my American stuff, the guys locally do. But my German stuff, I got one being built in Florida right now.
What is it? What's the one in Florida?
It's a double cab. It's a Volkswagen double cab.
Okay.
And then I have another bus being built in Portland, in the Portland area.
A VW bus?
Yeah, another one.
What year?
That one is a 60.
Nice.
Yeah, that one's
huh? What a blast, bro. What a blast.
Yeah.
It definitely sounds like you're living the life, and I want to be super respectful of your time because I know that you got a whole bunch of other folks to chat with today, man. So
but yeah, it's fun. And then recently I've been getting into RC cars.
Okay. Like how big of RC cars? Like just the super little guys or the
No, big, I'm not gonna do Junior Johnny, bro. I gotta do it right. So we're right now we've been buying like 5th and 7th scales.
Okay.
I mean they're big, right?
Yeah.
And we carved out a track in some of the property. So we got RC tracks so the guys come over on the weekends and we rip out we have our own track. So we can run the track because it's one thing to be like in your front yard and stuff, right? It's different when you actually have a track to run, and then you got other guys and you're screwing around and barbecuing and drinking and enjoying and getting competitive.
Yeah,
it's fun.
That sounds like a blast.
Good time with it,
I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
Let's see. Favorite book?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay. So some of your favorite musical artists.
That's a good question. I don't know if necessarily I have a favorite. I just love music in general. So there's some of the new kind of rap stuff that I can't get into. Like I got into old like beat rap back in the 80s and 90s that I just I'm not into. But for the most part, everything else is fair game, country, classical. I listen to a lot of chamber music with my audiophile systems. A lot of female vocalists that I enjoy listening to just because of the quality of music reproduction that it could be there. Especially on the audiophile systems that I listened on. I think pretty much I listen whatever.
Everything's fair game, huh?
Yeah, everything's fair game. Yeah.
And then 5 dinner guests, dead or alive.
5 dinner guests, dead or alive.
You plus 5.
I'd rather eat alone, bro.
Just you, huh?
Yeah.
What's funny about that answer is how much you appreciate community. You're a community builder. You're always investing in community. It's like, and then you're like, nah, I'll just kick it solo.
Yeah, I don't. I never had like stardom, or been starstruck by anybody or anything.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever been asked. I've never been asked that. I couldn't.
nothing off the top of the head, huh?
Yeah, I'd be like, so who do you want to meet? I'm like, no one. Whoever's around, I meet. I don't like. Oh, I would really like to meet that person someday. You know what I mean? I guess I just never been. It's kind of a lone wolf like that. I just never really had the need. Yet I do a lot in the community. I try to give as much as I can. Yeah, I don't know. And so, it's a question that I would probably never ask somebody and never thought to be asked. That's how little it's on my mind.
There you go. There you go. Here's my last question. So first off, I want to thank you, man. This has been awesome, and I love catching up, and I hope we can stay in touch and continue to chat it up. One of the reasons that I wanted to start this is because ever since I graduated, I left California, and I thought I was going to spend a career in Silicon Valley, and it didn't happen. It didn't work out. And so I've done what I could to stay apart and try to help the brotherhood as much as I could, but have always still been distant. And so whenever there was something at national, it's like, man, I can do all kinds of stuff. I can help with marketing. I can help with tech. I can help with a lot of things, but never really took the opportunity to get involved with, I guess, the bureaucracy of the national org or whatever. And so when I had this idea of putting on a podcast and talking to the bros, both at Santa Clara and outside, I thought that, number one, that this would be a great way to catch up with folks. And number two, I think that so many people could learn, so many bros could just learn about, how many of the new guys have you sat down with for an hour and talked about stuff? It's like probably not that many, right? We're all super busy, and so if we can put that type of content out, I think it would be really, really valuable. And like I said, I'm benefiting so much from this conversation. So
I think that's great, because we've got a lot of knowledge now. When I was there, and probably you were doing it, that knowledge was still building. Mm-hmm. And that wealth was still building within our organization. Now it's really set in. We've got bros who've been successful. There's money in the organization from our brotherhood, and a lot of know-how. The youngins should really try to take advantage of that. We were like, who do we talk to? We were like, I don't know, nobody's there yet. But now we are there. We have successful brothers. We have, people who can, if somebody's like, hey, I'm thinking about to start a company. Okay, great. What do you need to know? Here's a good way of doing it. Here's how to start. Here's what I think you should be doing. And do you need money? Because if you need money, I might be able to angel you, kind of thing, right? At that time, a long time, we couldn't do that. Right. It just wasn't there. Now we have some very successful brothers, very successful with big money that we're able to do that now. And the organization, stuff that I think I was very envious of other organizations that had come, they were 200 years old, kind of thing, right? Or whatever, I don't know, 150 years old, organizations, where they were able to tap into, right? And like, hey, well, we need this. Oh, we just go to our organization and we do this and we get this and this is how we do it. It's like, oh, lucky, right? We don't have that. Right, the best I'm going to do is get a few bucks out of my parents or a deal who might, oh boy, here's a little bit, right? But now we have that where if somebody's got a good idea, right, to say, hey, I got this great idea, it would really work, but I need a couple $100,000 to get it off the ground. It's easy money for a couple of us to say, yeah, let's just throw $100,000 at this kid, each one of us, and then let's see where it goes. We'll take a chunk of the company and let's see where it goes. That person may not have got that opportunity before because he couldn't find that angel funding. But we'll believe in our brothers, right? We'll because he might not even know how to pitch it, right? Not schooled, but we'll listen, right? Because it's a different type of family thing. Where now and hopefully it'll take off, right? And we'll be like, great, we helped, it grew, they grew rich, we grew more rich along the way.
Everybody wins.
Now we can do these things.
Yeah.
Or just questions. I get hit with questions like people that are brothers. I'm mentoring a couple of guys right now. All kinds of questions all the time. They're just filled with, well, what do you think about this? And I'm thinking about doing this. And I, they're like, man, I really appreciate all the time you're giving us. Because you don't have to. I'm like, well, I got to pay it forward, and you will do the same thing to somebody else. Because I had questions too, and it wasn't a brother who answered them, but it was somebody else who helped me with them. Those brothers who are going through that now really should be reaching out. Right? They should be reaching out to the those who've been there, done that. For whatever reasons, right? For whether it be marital issues, we've been through it. Like we've been through that, and we should be able to reach out and have all those brothers and be, hey, I got some issues. Yeah, sure. What's up? Here's what I did to get past that. Here's what me and my wife did that. We got past it by this. Or, hey, my little company is having some financial problems. It's like, we're going to go under. What do we do? Well, here's what are you doing? Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you thought about bridging yourself going this way? Oh, I didn't think about that. Hey, God, I'm working my ass off. I'm making a lot of money, but there never seems to be enough money in the bank. So, well, what are you doing to avoid taxes? What are you doing to build wealth? Well, we just, I don't know, the accountant does it. So, well, accountants are compliancy people. What do you do? You need a tax planner. Here's who I use. Here's what I do. this saves me, $500,000 a year in taxes. And they're like, oh, how do I do that? It's like, well, you should have been asking for a while, right? Because we figured this out because we already paid those taxes, right? Those that are in other communities who can go, especially young companies. So who are you guys doing to save money? I don't know. I just use the same person that my dad's company uses.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Well, you're lucky because you knew that you had that. And then eventually they'll get their own people they deal with, right? Usually the generations down of those people who help their, parents and whatnot, family members or organizations of their faith or whatever that they got to. This is how these communities work. So we need to be doing that, right? In this kind of podcast, and when we talk about this, and if you're doing these things, you really need to, reach out to that, the newcomers into the market, who maybe might not be happy with what they're doing and just feel lost, right? I felt lost for a long time until I realized I have to leave this. I can't work in corporate America. There's no fucking way. I'm not a corporate guy. Right? Here's what I need to do. And it was tough because I had to deal with it. You had to go through it alone. Right. Mm-hmm. But youngins now where they're coming in, they're like, do you think it's bullshit? And they're like, yeah, this is ridiculous. It's like, yeah, sure. Let me show you a different light. And they're like, yeah, It's like, yeah, don't do that. You're going to waste your time. Let's get on with you moving on to what you really need to be doing. And I talk a lot about this with, I'll get hit with people that, in the community and stuff that will ask these questions, right? And they feel like, but I'm supposed to be doing this. It's like, who said that? Like, wasn't it? It's like, no, right? You can do whatever you want. So it's, but those are things, that I think most of us that have had some success or in whether it be monetary or in just intrinsic success, whatever career they've done are more than willing to help, but we're not going to go and seek that out. We're too busy.
Right. That's right.
They need they need to come and ask. They need to ask questions, right? And it's tough when you're young because you feel like, well, I don't want to be bothering anybody. It's not bothering anybody.
A lot of times you don't know what you don't know, so you don't even know what question to ask.
Right? Yeah, but we should do things more where there's mixers and stuff.
Yeah,
right. The organization should do more things where it's assigned. Where you have people that you can, hey, what do you want to do? Let me put you with a bro who's doing that. So you can get a leap, you can get a jump ahead. Because otherwise we end up doing it starting from zero. You know what I mean?
Starting over, reinventing the wheel every time.
Reinventing the wheel every freaking time. And and I always say that because I'm part of a lot of like Latino organizations here. And I said, we don't teach, one of the things that we don't teach in our community is generational wealth. We don't teach, and we don't pass on a lot. We use it all. I go, because everyone doesn't want to be the first to kick it off. This is the major problem because every one of us that gets out of school and starts, we all start from zero.
Yeah.
Very well. I shouldn't say all, most of us, it starts again, right? And it takes forever. I'm like, if we would have started on step 1 or step 2, step 3, go farther we would get ahead as a community. I go, but we all start at step 0 because no one left us anything. No one thinks about leaving. No one's willing to leave, right? It's a selfish thing that's bad. That's really bad, right? And that selfishness needs to be broken so people can start ahead. Now, one, people leaving things to organizations, right? Leaving wealth and stuff. But 2, having that available to those who need it, right? Those bros who, and charitable. I'm not saying charity. I'm saying those bros who are like, hey, I want to start this company. I need money.
Resources.
Don't start from 0. Let me give you some money. I'm going to own some of it, but but you'll, in 10 years time, this will be 10 times as big as it was if you would have started from 0.
That's right.
Right? Because it multiplies. So don't start at 0. Let me at least get you to step 2. So then you're already ahead of the game, like your competitor, you just graduated with. Maybe a different color than you, but that's your competitor. Let's get you that start. Let's get you starting there first.
Yeah.
And everything you need to be successful. And one wonderful man told me one time, he goes, if you want to be successful in anything, you need to set yourself up for success. right? You need to set yourself up for success, because if you don't, you cross your fingers. So I've always taken that approach. If I'm going to do something, music, I want to play music. How do I set myself up? Let me learn this. Let me put things together. Let me put myself in positions, in predicament, or in situations where I can be around that, so that I will be successful along with it. Not just wondering when I would ever get into it. I put myself into it. I put myself there so that I would be successful. And in a very short time, where most people are trying for years, decades to get to do this, I was there in a matter of a year and a half. I set myself up for success. Even with the RC car stuff, I'm starting to do that, right? I built a track. On other RC guys who know what they're doing, because I'm trying to learn how to do these things, right? I'm setting myself up for a successful hobby, because I'm already around success in the hobby, right? These youngins that are coming out, they need to be around things, money, and know-how, so they're set up for success. Otherwise, they're going to take too much time to understand it, and then they're way behind in our community, and then they can't build enough to leave enough behind for the next generation, because they barely made it themselves.
Right. Because they had to reinvent the wheel. Yeah, I dig it. Every time. So, I appreciate you so much, Shawn. So here's legit the last question. Who should I have on the podcast?
Have you talked to Jaime Castillo?
No, I haven't. But that's all right.
You see Santa Barbara graduate, being very successful. He's got a multi-family business. They're buying properties in I think Texas, and I think their endowment now is up to 80 million in properties.
Wow. Right on. That's a great lead, bro. That's a great lead.
So reach out to Jaime. One of our original founding fathers, Tony Ariola.
Okay, there you go. Tony the Tiger, right?
Tony kicked ass, man. He's building 2 big buildings downtown San Jose. He's doing so well for himself. Other guys that I know locally who started their own company, Monchi, Ramon.
Yep.
He's got his own company. He's doing stuff for like Apple and a bunch of other things. So he's doing it, making it happen for himself. Who else? Who else I know started their own companies? I mean, you have brothers who've done well in corporate America.
Sure.
But these are people who own their own companies.
I dig it.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I'll think of some others, but off the top of my head, I know these brothers have, like all of us, started with nothing, right? Sure. And they've achieved quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, man. I'm going to hit you up for those guys' contact info.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there, man. Well, so the way I've got Alberto Cruz in the hopper and John Marqueta, but it turns out you are our first guest, the first guest of the Men of Mind podcast. So I appreciate you so much, and hopefully this grows and grows, man. We can really share some knowledge.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, brother. I appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Peace, bro.
Peace.
Until next time, bros. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.